welcome to the Breakfast Club on Asake Online. My name is Sizwakele Ndlovu, and thank you for watching the show. Today we have on the program Vusa Mkhaya, and he is an award-winning singer, songwriter, producer, composer, content creator, and artistic director. And he's speaking to us from Austria. So greetings from Zimbabwe to Austria.
Greetings to you, Bobulawa.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Breakfast Club and taking time out to chat to us, Vusa.
You're welcome. I am looking forward to this show.
Thank you. So let me just get straight to it. Kaya, I've got this hashtag @from Bulawayo to the world, and you use it quite a lot. And you grew up in Chabalala. So if you can give us a summary, what was it like growing up in Bulawayo, and did you ever envision yourself being where you are today?
It was, growing in Chabalala was fun. Growing up in Chabalala was fun. And I went to Mahlabi Zulu Primary School. And I used to sing at school, the choir. I used to play tennis at the Chabalala tennis court with our headmaster, Mr. Mlilo. But I never imagined myself traveling the world, performing and doing what I do. I always thought I was going to be a tennis player, and maybe, going to BAC for us from Chabalala was quite an adventure. And we all looked forward to go to BAC to play tennis there. So I think my dream was to be in the city center and do things that I saw people doing on TV, but I never imagined that it was going to beyond Zimbabwe, Africa, and in the world.
I'm really quite surprised. Tennis player.
Yes, I used to play. I mean, this is one of the things that people don't know about me. I used to play tennis, and I even won something. And like I said, if I wasn't a musician, maybe I was going to be a tennis player or a musician.
All right. Now you've just thrown me totally off course. Because I think tennis player, I'm seeing you and all that. So arts life, how and when did it start then? Because if you're on this sporting trajectory and then next thing you're here, when did this start? How did it start?
I've been doing music since I was a kid. This is why at home they call me Manyanyata, because I'm told at age 3, I think, I started singing along to songs that were on radio. And there was a musician called Manyanyata back then, who was a Maskandi musician. I don't remember quite well because I was a kid, but I'm told that I used to love him and imitate his songs and dance. So up to today, my family calls me Manyanyata because of that. So I've been into music and dance and stuff. And I was always fascinated. I mean, the radio fascinated me a lot. And I remember one time I was asking my brother, how do those people how do they get inside this radio? Because I thought there were people behind that big box, like the big radio that we had, Supersonic, so I thought and my elder brother, yes, who come early in the morning. So one day I wanted to see who Tungobana want to uncle. Now when that is screwdriver. Now that is unscrew it to young guy. And obvious radio, and you can imagine now radio. So radio and TV fascinated me as a kid, cool. And I knew this is one of the things I wanted to do. So when I started singing school choir primary, tennis came into my life through my elder brother as well, and our headmaster, because at Chabalala, we had a Chabalala tennis court. This was the only place besides Makande, I think, all the tennis court in Malokishin. And our headmaster was a sports person. So he encouraged us to play tennis or wear rackets and so on. And growing up, or Boris Becker, or John McEnroe, or Ivan Lendl. Those were the guys back then. Or Steffi Graf, I remember. We also wanted to be like them and play tennis. And so I was playing tennis and singing, and I guess music then, won.
So after, no, in the way radio, of you messing up the radio, got me laughing so hard. I'm imagining you who's on the radio. And, and although singing in primary school and then tennis, what then made you choose decisively with, okay, it's no longer sport, it's now singing? How did that happen?
I think it was also the finances, because tennis is not cheap. When we were playing Amalokishin, you just wear your shorts and udlale ngenyawo. But now, solely tournament, APAC. How much tournaments I say APAC? You need to have imali yokugada. You need to have your own racket. You need to have like all white. You need to have instructors and tennis and so on. And I couldn't manage to have those things because of what I town. You know how our parents are. Abanye bedlala ibhola around the corner. So somehow then tennis just gradually, faded. And singing, voice. So I just went to the choir and sang, and that was it.
And then your parental influence, so we realized to you actually going into the arts. What was that like? Were they supportive? How did they take you through the journey?
It was not easy. I mean, at primary school, it was okay because it was part of the school, it was a hobby. Kodwa ngokuya kwesikhathi, secondary school, so kuthiwa into zakho ze-drama lezi, not i-drama, into zakho ze-sketch. You see, uyadlala and so on. So it was not easy, but I guess I was stubborn enough to convince them that this is what I want to do. And yeah, like any other parent, growing up in Malokishini, kumbe ngithi in Bulawayo and the surroundings, umzali wants the best for umntanakhe. And unfortunately, I did not have a lot of influences back then in the arts. Among musicians that we knew and heard of, womanizers and all those kind of things. So I guess my father wanted to protect me from that. And stuff like this. And I think this is one of the reasons why just to prove him otherwise.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. And I suppose you're rightly saying, Uti, it was an unknown. Who would have known that music would take you this far? I would put Zimbabwe, leave Africa and be where you are today. So please just tell us about that journey. You're now based in Austria, and between high school and now, what happened? What have you been up to? Just to summarize, for people who might not be.
Kunzima sometimes ukukhuluma ngawe ngibe ngithi ngami. But the summary is in 1991, I was in Ndlovu because I did my Form 1 and Form 2 at Ihlati Secondary School at Chabalala. And then Form 3 or Form 4, I did in Tambavalo Secondary because I had to go Ekaya to live with Ukoko. So I went to school there and I joined a choir there as well in the group. Nothing figure the group, nothing I joined. So there was an event organized by the Ministry of Education and Culture where different groups came and to perform, and were performing. And I met in Singizamyama. They came to perform. And we knew which one groups are in the town. So sabe serious asalungise act yethu ukuthi sizawatshengisa izibunzenyo. So they came and we did what we did. you know, and everyone loved our act. So I knew what school I'm going back to town. Wasn't I was just across Aikokacha. So I was most of the times my kids dance at town. So at the school I went back to Bulawayo. And I went to Enyat Youth Center because the guys had told me I also had enjoyed the way they performed. So we spoke after the gig and they told me about the Enyat Youth Center. Now I was a scholar, I was a secondary. So we all at school. So having seen it, and I started racing with them. And 4 years later, we were on our first flight out of Zimbabwe to, we did our first tour in Austria, Slovenia, and Denmark. In May 1995, we left Zimbabwe and came back in October. And as they say, the rest is history. We are still together. This is the.
So, moving over to Austria and relocating and having a different base, what brought that about?
I mean, in the beginning we were such performance really Zimbabwe, and we were going back and forth. And then we realized in Europe, especially in Austria, music is not just like something plan. People actually study music, people actually go to music schools, people actually learn how to compose and write, scores and stuff. And we also wanted to do that. And in order for us to do that, we made a bit longer, not only touring for 2 months and come back. So we decided to enroll also at a music school so that we learn music theory, we learn how to compose and write notes and read, and also play some instruments. And the idea was that we learn and do that maybe for 3 or 4 years. Suspend Zimbabwe, and teach also and perform. Izinto zaguquka, umkhono welize wachinja, and then we thought, okay, let's do it from here. Zimbabwe, we're still connected to Zimbabwe, we're still doing projects in Zimbabwe, and being here doesn't change much in terms of doing what we wanted to do in Zimbabwe. So now we are touring mostly from here, and we spend our time between Austria and Zimbabwe, COVID.
Okay, that's great. Okay, and I like the aspect of music and arts and J is a very serious way of life. And do you see that appreciation in Zimbabwe as artists? You're right, you're saying you have to write scores, you have to be able to read music. Are we getting an appreciation of this so that by learning we can then play on the global stage? Are we beginning to appreciate that?
I think now it's getting better. During the times when we started, it was not easy. As I said, it was not easy because I remember the only place where one could study music was at the College of, at the Zimbabwe College of Education, I think. Now, if I'm a teacher, then it was connected to music. Zimbabwe Music Academy, and now there's MSU and people, I see artists, music even weekends, doing courses that are connected to music and arts. So I think slowly people are starting to appreciate, and also role models that are not the typical musician stereotype. And my wish was always to be an example to my my neighborhood surroundings and the kids, my nephews and nieces, ukuthi khona angifuni ukuthi omunye wabo nxa efuna ukuba yi-artist bengathi khona no yekela ungabi nje asifuni ukuthi uqiniswe njengovusa Mkhaya, because I grew up hearing that a lot from amanye musicians and artists. So I told myself that I want to work hard. If any kid wants to be an artist, go ahead and do it so that you will be like Vusa Mkhaya, not the opposite.
And I think, in my opinion, I think you've done a good job of being a very great role model, and well done. I'm sure, Ndlovu.
Thank you. We are trying, but no, you learn. In arts, I always say you don't arrive. You learn every day. And you just keep trying and keep moving. See our Sizwakele and keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Mkhaya, we've just had, we are still going through a lockdown, and Tinangapa, we've had it eased slightly. Tell us about your situation, Ngapo. How did the lockdown start? What did it mean for you in terms of work? Because as artists, we know everything revolves around either events or having social places open so you can perform. So tell us about your lockdown experience and how you got through it, and how you are, and not got through it, but how you are coping and things like
that. For the first time, I think in 15 years, this is my first time over same Ndlovu for 10 months. 10 months, same place, same city, same surroundings for the last 15 years. And it hasn't been easy because I'm used to traveling, I'm used to being on stage, touring and doing projects and stuff. But I tried my best to keep myself busy by learning. Like I said, in arts, you don't arrive, there's a lot to learn. So I started learning, also music, engineering, sound engineering. I started learning, discovering different softwares of doing things online. And I just kept myself busy, also creating projects for the future, hoping into ziyalunga. And I'm excited with next week. I'm going back on the road for the first time. I hope there are no surprises coming. So we have our first gig in Switzerland on the 17th of June. And we are excited. But lockdown is still going on. Like around Europe, lockdown, so we can't go on tour like we used to. But it hasn't been easy. I am grateful ukuthi I managed to survive isikhathi sonke lesi. Ngoba nxa ungela income, especially as artists, if you depend on our shows, and now you're 10 months, I'll perform in endlini, akukho lula. So for that, I'm always grateful. I managed to pull through, and I'm still standing. This is why I always say ngiyabonga mina, because I don't take that for granted. I know my other colleagues, especially in Zim, who haven't been performing and earning money, kunzima akukho lula. So I also try to help lapho engikwanisa khona some of our colleagues, especially in Zim, to make sure ukuthi khona labo banjani bayakwanisa ukuthi bephile ngoba akukho lula, especially for the arts. This last year was not easy.
So, Vusa Mkhaya, in terms of governmental support overseas, was there any support for artists? Because like here, there was a fund that was distributed, but it turned out to be, some people are saying it was 5,000 RTGS, and it was a once-off payment. Has there been a policy overseas artists are catered for, especially at times like this during lockdown, to give them some bridging income?
Yes, there was a policy like that, and artists got some money from the government. But I think I'm artists that are not performing a lot or going on tour. Givo, it was good because you're not going on tour. COVID, they were going to be at home anyway. So getting that money was good. But for some of us, the money that we're going to make from the shows that were cancelled and imisebenzi yonke, angeke wayicompare le mali that the government gave out. So it was still a loss even if the government inika imali compared to imali yangikhona ezayenziwa. You look at it this way. An artist okobulawayo who's not a touring artist ongayenzi imali ngama-shows, a pure 5,000 RTG esehlezi endlini. You can't compare that person nomunye umuntu ovele ehamba ama-tours, or people like Iyasa who go every summer, who travel to Europe every summer, or Nobuntu, or Mukumba, who are still in Zim and they cancelled all their tours. You can't compare because giving them 5,000 RTGs to compare to what they were going to earn.
No, I hear you. I totally understand. I hear you. And but also the policies. Tell us a bit about the arts policies. Are you supported by your governments? Well, not your governments. Do governments actually support arts? What is their take on it? Because Lapis Zimbabwe, as you know, we are still in a bit of a back and forth, getting more respect and more acknowledgement, and just in Djibouti, arts Lapis Zimbabwe. What does overseas look like in terms of government assistance and just that acknowledgement, which arts is a very big sector and it does contribute to the economy?
The art is acknowledged kakhulu, especially Austria, because Austria is the home of classical music. Like now, our venues are not allowed to be a full capacity audience. So they're getting imali from the ministry, because when our venues and have gigs with 50 people in the audience, they won't make money. So our venues were saying than ukuvula sibele abantu abangu-50 and pay ama-artists and pay ama-costs. So the government ifake imali kuma-venues, kuma-events, ukuthi ama-events ayenzakala. So now these venues won't be depending on ama-gate checkings. And this is one of the things that the government of Austria has done. Ukuthi i-culture iqhubekele phambili, and ama-venues and promoters they should not worry about making profits and selling tickets because imali is there already. And the city of Vienna is doing a huge summer festival organized by the city, also to try and compensate for this time abantu behlezi artists and also the audiences. So there will be big stages around the city of Vienna, performances for free, but artists are going to be paid. So this is one way also to say to people, we are nini and let's just forget about the COVID.
So what would you say is our biggest lesson that we should take away from this lockdown, Jay, in terms of our craft and just basically life?
Lesson number one, save money. As artists, I know kunzima sometimes, because most of us, siyathanda ukuphilela abantu, especially, uthi bazambona ngifuna ukwenza lokhu lalokhu sikhohle ukuthi kule kusasa, because esikhathini esiningi there's a tour coming up. So if I make money on this tour, sengifuna ukuyijayiva yonke because there's a tour coming up. Now the tour ayisabuyanga ngenxa ye-COVID, and shows didn't come because of COVID. So for me, the lesson, abantu must always look at the bigger picture and make sure ukuthi khona uyafaka ama-savings eceleni mhlawumbe le mali, and also make sure ukuthi you create more content ezaba khona online and don't depend on ama-live shows kuphela, especially for ama-musicians kulama royalties. You get royalties for airplay, for ama-TVs, for ama-adverts and stuff like that. Now in COVID, most people were at home. Most people were consuming the content through online platforms, through radio. And I think a lot of royalties will be paid from YouTube, from radios, from documentaries, from all these things. So as artists, we not only depend on the live audience, but have other income streams, especially as long as the art. I write music, I compose music as well for other things. So these last 10 months in St. I knew Konama royalties were coming as well. This was another income stream. So royalties were coming, are still coming, but they are not guaranteed. We are going to 7 Zenjan, we are going to music happening up. But the fact that one or two things that I've done, and the Malema royalties, I saw Malaria Gawani pay. Yes, as long as your content is out there on radio, on TV, on the cinemas and stuff.
So, Vusa, I hear you, and maybe the situation is different for overseas. For example, Zimbabwe is Africa. There's a hand-to-mouth type of situation. The economy doesn't assist as well. So it might be difficult, if not even impossible, such as artists to save money and then have a nest egg where we are living from hand to mouth, and there's absolutely no way we can progress and save. So in terms of diversification, I notice you have diversified, but you're still within the arts. You're writing songs, you're composing scores, and it's all within your craft. What's your take on diversification totally away from your craft? Okay, I'm a singer and I'm going to try my hand in farming and having to wear those different hats, auntie. And that said also, do you think it then affects the quality of the art then produced because we have to diversify out of our fields? I know that's a lot of mumble jumble questions, but yeah.
No, I get your question. Mina, I always say, abantu akumelanga bephilela abanye abantu. And if I decide namuhla ukuthenga ama-gonyet and open a gonyet business, and if I think it's good for me and my family, I will do it without even thinking ukuthi khona abantu bazakuthi athi yami isisiwa nxa senda ama-gonyet. My point is, anyone who wants to diversify and do something else, ongekho kwazi, ngayenze, because nxa indlala isibuya ichaya wena wedwa thina sabe singasekho. So ngayenzela abantu ukuthi abantu bazakuthini. Those people won't be there nxa wena usuwedwa usuvalela indlu kumbe ungasadlanga. So if you have a chance to diversify and do something else or open a different business, go ahead and do it, because okufunakalayo ukuthi kube le income. Like you are saying, ukuthi abanye baphila from hand to mouth. Get a lump sum from one of your projects, diversify, open that restaurant or that farm, or sell those vegetables, because ukuqakathekileyo ukuthi imuli yakho idle lawe uphile. And nxa umuntu umsebenzela, who are we to say yekela lokho nxa ukuthi wena uyi-artist ungayenzi lokho lalokhuyana? So I say, yeah, do you. Thank you, sorry.
So those are wise words, Mkhaya. And at the same time, how would you say being overseas has assisted? Yes, you spoke about school and just that change of mindset or change of environment. do you feel it has an impact on how you're then received back home? You know, sometimes, no, I'm here, people say Dilelana on the local aspect because we know each other. Do you think your being away improved your reception, or has nothing to do with how you're received back home? Or, yeah.
I still think most, you know, there are a lot of Zimbabwean artists outside Zimbabwe, and I still feel they don't get the credit they deserve because maybe they're not back home, maybe because they are at abantu kabayazi. There are people like Berita Obegezela. There are people like Ozi in the USA doing amazing things. And I think outside Zimbabwe, akulani lokwenza le ndlela abantu abathakazelela ngayo art yakho. Maybe kumele umuntu aqale efike eHollywood, then people will, I don't know, because now like Dana Kurira, she's on, you know, but Ibulawayo, especially Bulawayo is a very tough audience. Ukuthi uvela ngaphi wenzeni abakudingi, because I mean, like I always, you are as good as your last work. So what na bengisebenza lo one last week, if I come back Bulawayo and perform in Ndaba Cafe, sikhuluma nganamuhla eNdaba Cafe and we forget about what I did. And this is also how I treat Bulawayo or Zimbabwe. Every time I say Zimbabwe and perform whatever project engiyenzayo, ngifitha njenge-project yami yakuqala njengomuntu ongakaze yenze lutho. Or if I go into a recording session, the musicians in Zimbabwe, I erase yonke into esekhanda lami engiyaziyo lesengayifundayo ukwenzela ukuthi khona ngifunde kwabanye. I don't want to be, ngiyakwazi konke mina because I've been to Europe, I've done this and this and that, you know. Uyagcina uzivalele ungafundi ezinye izinto ongazaziyo. So I think yes, I've learned a lot of things, especially music composition and arrangement and stuff. There's still a lot to learn. I'm not the authority, and I don't know it all, and I don't claim to know it all. So when I come to Zimbabwe and work, everything I've learned in these last 20 years, and this is how I roll. Yeah.
Okay, I get the fact. You're saying Bulawayo is a really tough crowd, and is there any reason you think we're like that?
Because we're of Zimbabwe. Simple. We have everything when it comes to arts. I'm an artist maneng, and I think abantu ballet enough. Yeah, sometimes I spoil it for choice, I think. And one thing that I wish for Bulawayo, you would take away my venues. And I saw my power where one can go with family and not Bulawayo theater because it's expensive for some artists who do some shows. Like what we used to do in the 90s. Let's perform Mbokoma Hall, Ntumbane Hall, Kulumane Hall, McDonald's Hall. Family-friendly gigs where a family can come and watch. We used to watch our Tabla, Ostisha, Makos, you know, township artists, Insignis, Black Mfolosi, Sunduza. All those groups were not performing in Mapao, and they were not performing at festivals. They did their own gigs, and there was an audience for it. Ama posters were everywhere. This is what I wish for Bulawayo now, after COVID. Uthi kona bring back the arts endaweni yayo lapho yayikhona, where umfundisi can go labantu abakhe and watch a gig. Right now, you want to watch a show or a music show, most of them are nightclub. And laba banganathiyo abangafuna ukuhamba emaclub kumele belindele intwasa or belindele iBulawayo Arts Festival or within the groups that can afford ukubhukha iBulawayo theatre. That's it. Or we at gallery once in a while when they do their events. So open. But abemalokishini abangala mali yokuhamba etown, abangala fuel, kumele udinge fuel, udinge imali yokuhamba, imali yokungena ishow iphela ngo-10. Now you have to go back eNkulumane. You see? So I think this is one of the things okumele i-Ministry of Culture or whoever is responsible or the Bulawayo Town Council to bring back iBulawayo to where it was before. To have these events emalokishini esalukazi, like what Vusa Mkhaya was doing with the Africa Day in Njube. You know, bring back the arts emalokishini for abantu. Bulawayo Theatre is cool. Zimbabwe Music Academy is cool. But bangaka abantu abakwanisa ukuyafika khonapho. Because akumelanga ukuthi asiqinise ngani is for the elite. Abantu aba-affordayo kuphela abanye hayi.
Okay, no, makes sense. Uzwakele. So Mkhaya, I would love to talk to you the whole day, but unfortunately, this cuts is away. And do you have any upcoming projects that we can look forward to?
I have a lot of upcoming projects, but some of them angivunyelwe ukukhuluma ngawo, but I have a lot of upcoming projects. Also my album, my new album, or maybe albums. Next week on the 25th, there's an album coming out in South Africa by a music producer called Umzi. It's an Africa project featuring Yvonne Chaka Chaka, Salif Keita, Bolocha from Swaziland, some guy called Vusa Mkhaya from Zimbabwe, Kanyo Mapumulo. I think there's 25 amazing songs on that album, and I'm excited to be part of that crew. And I'm featured on 2 songs on the album. And my album is coming out soon as well. So I'm really, really excited.
We're looking forward to that, Mkhaya. 25 June, we've penciled that. And any last words to our viewers?
Stay true to yourselves and always respect abantu. Not for what they can do for you, but just for being abantu. Respect aside.
Thank you so much, Vusa Mkhaya. It's been amazing chatting with you, Siyabonga, for being part of the Breakfast Club, and we wish you all the best. And we do look forward to the albums that are coming up in the near future.
Thank you.
And that's all for the Breakfast Club for me, Sizwakele Ndlovu, and we were chatting to Vusa Mkhaya Ndlovu, and Mr. From Bulawayo to the World. And unfortunately, we have to bring it to a close. But do remember, please mask up. COVID is still here, and please sanitize your hands and please maintain social distance. This is all from Asake Online. Goodbye for now.